might bark. I'm guessing that my corgi will bark at some point because that's what he does. He likes everyone to know that he's here and he likes to say hi. And I have one on my lap. So you might see a head peek up. So I'm going to share my screen. And okay, so you should see my screen now. It's been a while actually since I've used Zoom, so I might be a little out of practice with the screen sharing. But what you should see is the JobNow homepage.
I don't know, she had something to go.
And I'm going to go through all of the different aspects of the JobNow program, and then I'm also going to talk a little bit about marketing. So first and foremost, one of the things I always like to talk about is the background of our job coaches. So all of our job coaches do have a 4-year degree. We reference and background check. We do like proficiency testing, making sure that they're able to communicate well in an online environment. We also have them look over a sample resume and give us their feedback just to make sure that all of the standards are up to par. In addition to that, our coaches do also have some sort of HR experience, whether it is what they studied in school or if they have worked in HR. So without further ado, I have the homepage here and I'm going to show a couple of highlights. So the first thing right up at the top, there is a link here for a recorded workshop. So we've done a few of these workshops that are geared toward the public. And I think we've done 3 so far. So right now, this is the most recent one that you see on the homepage, just the best practices for using social media while job hunting. Our tech department is currently working on a new page for the site where all of the recorded workshops will be hosted. So that way you can go back and your patrons can go back and refer to them at any time. But for these workshops, we do hire experts in the field. So for the 3 that we've done so far, the host has been Ashley Watkins, and she is a certified resume expert and job coach. So it's just another tool that we offer to the public. So when we host these workshops, we do host them live. And we set it up with GoToWebinar. So when we do have them, we send out an email just letting you know that we have a workshop coming up. We try and give about a month's notice in advance. So that way you have time to share that with your community. It's totally free. It's just another extra thing that we started offering over the summer, I believe was when we started that. The other thing right up at the top is we do have a job search tool, and this particular search tool aggregates jobs from Indeed.com. So I'm going to scroll down just a touch here. And we have the site organized into 3 different categories. So there's one category dedicated to resumes. There's one dedicated to interviewing. And then there's the 3rd category called career, and that's kind of like the beginning stages of job hunting. The first item under each of those columns is a way to connect with a live person. So whether it's a resume, an interview, or just any general job hunting questions, there are coaches available to assist. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each of the different sections, and I'm going to go in order as if I were looking for a job rather than how it's laid out on the homepage. So I'm going to start actually over in the career column, where maybe I am a beginning job hunter, maybe I am currently unemployed, and I just need some help getting started with that. So we did add the unemployment assistance fairly recently. I don't remember exactly when, but it was this year, sometime this year that we added this. So we do have a live unemployment benefits navigator, and these navigators do have experience working with filling out forms, the unemployment forms and that kind of stuff. And they are there to help kind of navigate filling out that form, because we know that it is daunting to do that, especially when, you know, if you lost your job, and it's just kind of one of those things where having someone who knows what they're doing and is able to help is really nice. And then we also do have some resources for unemployment benefits as well. When it comes to the unemployment benefits navigators, they do have a little bit more of a limited schedule as far as the availability. And this is because it is still a very new offering that we have. Depending on how things go, we may be extending those hours as we move forward. When it comes to the online resources, this is actually going to take you directly into one of the categories in Skill Surfer, which I will show you the entire Skill Surfer in just a few minutes. But you'll see here where there's two different sections. There's unemployment insurance, which kind of explains an overview and the benefits that you're entitled to, how to continue your health coverage, other programs, and then there's also some state-specific contact information. So you'll see here, there's a link here for Connecticut. And then since we know that a lot of people, well, maybe not a lot, but there's people who may work in states other than where they live, we do have all of the different states here. In addition to that, there's also some regional links. So you can see here, we do have the regional links for Connecticut, as well as just a few other states. Okay, so I just hopped back over to the homepage. Now, since I was just in Skill Surfer, I'm going to go ahead and talk about that before I get into the more very specific job tools. And what Skill Surfer is, it's basically like a learning library where there's different practice tests, there's lessons, there's videos, there's different ways that you can build your skills. And this is organized into several different categories. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory as far as what is going to be contained in that category. So if I look at the high school entrance test preparation, you'll see here some essential skills, and then there's a few different standardized tests. With our standardized tests, there are preparation packs as well as practice tests. So it's a good additional or alternative resource for your community if there's like the standardized test coming up and your test prep books are all checked out. It's just another way that they can practice and prepare for those. So you can see the high school equivalency. We have the 3 different high school equivalency tests. College entrance test prep. There's the PSAT, ACT, SAT, AP, TOEFL, TOEIC, CLEP, SIA, and then the nursing entrance exams. College Now, I think, is one where you might look at the title and not realize what that is. So this one is really all about the college application process. So it's a good tool for anyone who is applying to college, whether they're fresh out of high school or if they are an adult learner returning to school. It talks about the application process, and you'll find resources such as like paying for school, what to expect if you are on a wait list, how to defer, those sorts of things. College placement tests. This is another standardized test, the AccuPlacer. And then when we get into college, it's a little bit different. It's not just practice tests. This is where you can actually build some of your skills. So I'm going to pull up, I'll pull up algebra. And when I come in here, you'll see there are some different practice tests. And then there are each of the different sections of algebra. I'm not sure, I'm probably not using the correct terminology because I'm not a math person, but there's all these different like subtopics, and then there's lessons. So this particular one, it looks like the majority or almost all of these are video lessons, which for me, I really like, because like I said, I'm not a math person, and coming in and being able to see, let me mute, being able to see what's going on and see the process of arriving at an answer is so much more beneficial than just reading a lesson. So the videos are all closed captioned as well. So if you are in a public space and you don't have headphones, or you're unable to, maybe you have hearing difficulties, there is the closed captioning available. And let me scroll down a little bit further. So this section, the career prep and job resources, I'm going to open this up and it's super long. So just that's your little forewarning. We do have career information for many, many different career fields. As you can see, the list is pretty extensive. And I'll go into, let's see. I'll just go into software developers as an example. So you can see that there is like a preparation guide for that particular certification test. Or the different certification tests. There's a couple tests. There's some flashcards. And then these ones here, like this one, is just a little lesson to help build your skills. Additionally, let me just scroll down here. You'll also be able to find some information. There's some job resources here. One that I think is still pretty relevant, especially now that we have the new variants, is the career information for COVID-19. And some of the things I think people are maybe a little bit more used to, maybe not, just depending on how your career is going. There's working remotely, which I think is a pretty important one. It definitely takes time to adjust to working remotely if it's something that you haven't done, or even if you have done it. I've done it. I've worked from home for almost 20 years. And working from home now is different than it was, just because the whole, like, everything's different. So we do have some tips on working remotely, some information on essential workers, cautious job seeking, which is super important. There's a lot of like MLL jobs. And just, understanding what to look for as far as red flags, like, that if you're applying for a job and they're asking you to pay for something, that's not going to be a legitimate job. Different job opportunities, how to interview safely, online interviewing. I think interviewing, I've talked to some people who have gone on interviews during the pandemic, and the biggest feedback that I've gotten is that it's a little unusual to be going into an interview wearing like your mask. And I think that's something that is still a bit challenging because so much of interviews is about body language. And when you're wearing a mask, it kind of hides your facial expressions. So there's some information there. And then there's also some information about different things that you can do while you're job searching, different skills that you can build, and the importance of remaining flexible. Then there's also some computer literacy skills and some business and career writing. So unemployment benefits assistance, this is what we looked at. There's also the nursing school exams, which is in another section, but we have it pulled out. Or the other section, I think, was just this one. But there's also the more specific nursing school exams. Praxis, we have some practice tests, the ASVAB, some computer literacy skills. We also recently added Google tools because we know that that's becoming more and more popular for people to use to collaborate with coworkers. There's graduate school entrance test prep, research skills, resources for adult learners. So there's some lessons and videos at the top here. And then there's practice tests. And then finally, the last section is ESL. So this is for anyone who is an English language learner, just really helping them build their skills in reading, writing, and grammar. So this is a lot of content. There is a little search box at the top. So if you know that you're looking for information on like being a firefighter, you can just search for it here and it'll pull up the different topics and lessons just to make things easier so you don't have to like go through and click through everything. Okay, so now that I've given kind of like that background information, let's get into the actual job portion. So let's say I am just starting my job search and I'm not sure what career is going to be a good fit for me. So we do have some different aptitude or self-assessments. So the first one here, career assessments, this is links to some different assessments that are available online. These are all free and vetted by our curriculum team, which I think is super important to know. Anytime we are linking to a website, it is something that is not going to require any type of payment. That is something that happens pretty frequently with JobResources. Like you may be searching the internet and find what you think is a really cool like resume builder, and you start building your resume on it and you get to the end and you can't save it or print it or anything unless you put in your credit card information. So we just make sure that everything that we are linking to does not require payment and is also appropriate and accurate given our current workforce. The other self-assessment tool is actually one of my personal favorites. This is EParachute, and it is created by the son of Richard Bowles, who wrote What Color is Your Parachute? And what this is it's a really cool, fun, interactive process that you can go through to figure out different potential career ideas. I really like this one because it's more graphical, and when you do go through all of the steps, let me just, you can enter in any different dream ideas. So let me just show you here, like, for example, let's say I'm working on the people types. It's really intuitive and interesting and fun to go through this particular platform versus reading a bunch of questions where you choose answers. I just like this one a lot better because it is graphical and I feel more engaged with it. So you would just go through each of these steps, and when you put your mouse over different things, you'll get a little bit more information. And then when you get to the end, it's going to give you a bunch of different featured career ideas. And there's going to be a percentage that shows how closely that particular career field matches the different things that you enjoy, from the people you enjoy being around, the fields you love, and the skills that you really enjoy having. And then taking that further on those different career fields, there's also information about like your job responsibilities, different job titles, skills that are used, average annual salary. There's just like a ton of information when you're looking at the different careers. So that really helps you kind of determine which potential career you want to explore. And then with the different job titles that you get, it helps to, like when you're searching, instead of just searching, like, let's say you, one of the suggested careers for you is like an art director or something along those lines. It'll give you a bunch of different related career options. So instead of just searching for like art director, you may search for like creative manager or something like that. Okay, so back over on the homepage, I'm just gonna grab a drink of my coffee. Now that I have figured out a career path that I want to try and find a job in, I can actually start my searching. So we do have JobResources. So in here, there's both nationwide and local resources for job seekers. So the nationwide ones, you'll see a lot of sites that you're probably familiar with, ZipRecruiter, Indeed, Career Builder. Then there's also some job sites for students and recent graduates, and then some job sites for veterans. So this is really just like really great places where you can actually search for different jobs. Then there's also the local resources for job seekers. So these are all for the Connecticut area. So I'll just scroll through here. There's the general ones, and then there's also ones for students and recent graduates. There's a question here asking if there's a specific place for older job seekers. That's a good question. There's not. But what I can do is I can ask our curriculum team to see if there are any websites or any resources for the older job seekers. Okay, and then as I mentioned, there's also the ability to connect with a job coach. So the job coaches are really able to help with any questions you may have when it comes to looking for a job. They can help you with searching, they can help you with online applications, they can help you, there goes my dogs. I knew they wouldn't be quiet the whole time. They can help you with anything you may need to do in order to prepare for a job. So like kind of a catch-all for different questions related to the job hunting process. So now that I have done my job searching and I've found a job that I want to apply to, I need to make sure that my resume is up to par. So resumes they're daunting. It's really challenging to just open up like a blank Word document and just write a resume. So we have various resume resources, including templates. So the first thing I'll go into is just these general resume resources. And in here, there's a few templates, and there's also links to some different websites to help you know what to put on your resume. There's also some links to some military skill translation tools, because that's something that is a bit challenging to do, to translate the military skills to civilian careers. I really like this Career One Step resume guide. I'm type A. I like to be super prepared for everything. So for me, this resource is just like, it gives you so much information about what to put in your resume. It gives you sample resumes, it gives you tips, it gives you FAQs. I really like it. And then in addition to those general resources, there's a few templates here: the chronological, the combination, and the functional. We have chronological first because this is the one that is preferred by employers, and we know that people will generally click on the first link that they see. So we made sure to put that one first, and it just downloads the Word document for you. So I'll pop this open and you'll see, let me maximize this. That's a little too big. So it has a resume kind of laid out for you where it's all formatted, and it's just a matter of you putting in your information. So it's giving you all those guidelines instead of having that blank document and working off of that. And for each section, it includes an example as well as an explanation for what to include in that section. So like objectives used to be common, and they're really something that's not recommended to include on a resume anymore. Instead, having a profile, a headliner, a summary of qualifications, just something that captures that like is basically a highlight of your resume that closely relates to the job that you're applying to. It's something that is fairly easy to edit and update if you're applying for multiple jobs, which most people do. And it just helps the hiring manager see at a glance if you would be a good fit. Hiring managers typically don't spend a lot of time looking at resumes. So it's just another way to kind of help you get your foot in the door. So I'll just scroll down so you can see the different sections, explanations for each section. So let me go back to the JobNow homepage. And the other tool that we have for building resumes is called Optimal Resume. And this is a resume creation software. So when I open this is a partnership that we have with Optimal Resume. So there are the terms and conditions that will pop up first. And it's fairly long. There's also the privacy policy in here somewhere. I will say that Optimal Resume and Brainfuse, we don't collect personal information. Like all of this, the billing and payment information, the pricing, this is not applicable to your program. This is all included with JobNow. But in order to use it, you do need to agree. And then it is going to ask you to fill out a profile. The reason why it's asking for this is because it's going to auto-populate that into the resumes that you create. Now you don't have to put actual information in here. You can put fake information. So I have here just my little fake contact information. I'm gonna click save and continue, and it's going to take me to the document center. And there's a lot of different tools within Optimal Resume, but we're just going to take a look at the resume builder right now. But in addition to that, you can also create different types of business letters. You can create a portfolio. You can do a practice interview, and you can also make like your own little mini websites where it would have like your resume, certifications, anything that you put into a portfolio would also appear on your personal website. So I'm going to go to create a new resume. I'm just going to name it demo and click start resume. What's really cool about this is it gives you different options on how you can build your resume. So you can build it based off of pre-created samples. You can build it based off of different sections, or you can start from scratch. I think building it based off of samples is the easiest way to get started on creating a resume. And there is also a help document here. I'll open it in a new tab. So if I go to this one for resumes, it walks you through everything that you can do with screenshots and notes. Because as you work through building your resume, it gets a little bit more complicated the further you go into the software. So I'm going to start by looking at the different samples. So there are 528 sample resumes, which is a big number, but you can narrow that down super easily by taking a look at the different categories. And then the experience level. So let's just do education, training, and library, do entry level. So it's narrowed down the resumes to 12 samples. So you can see the different job titles at the top. And let's say I'm going to do this one for a kindergarten teacher. And then it has this sample all filled out for me. So what I can do then is I can come in, this is where it auto-populated my information. I can just click on each of these different sections and I can remove things, I can edit things. Obviously, there's going to be things that are not relevant to me. And then when I click save, it's going to save the entire resume, not just that section. So the entire resume is then updated. And I would just go through and I would do that for each of the different sections here. Where it starts to get a little bit more complicated is if I need to remove different sections, or if there's different sections that I want to add. And that's all done over here on the side. Like I said, that help document that I just showed you is so helpful for using this program because it does get complicated. I would definitely recommend anyone who is using this tool does have a little bit higher level of computer literacy skills, whereas with the Word documents templates that I showed you, I think that is more beneficial for, or it's beneficial for everyone, but for those with a little bit lower computer literacy skills, they're able to use that pretty efficiently as well. With the optimal resume, you can download your resume in some different formats. You can also share it via a link. You can print it, you can clone it. So if you are applying to multiple jobs, it makes it really easy to copy your resume and use it for different positions, like edit your profile for different positions based on what the employer is looking for. Okay, so I'm going to go back over to the homepage. And the next thing is getting resume feedback. I think this is so important, and there's different ways that you can get your resume feedback. So you can either connect to a live person, a live resume expert, or you can use the resume lab. And there's benefits to doing both ways. When you're working with someone live, you get that individualized attention, where if you have like specific questions, or if you're not sure, like, should I include this job that I had that's not really relevant? Should I include that in my resume? Those types of things. And then with the resume lab, you're actually just sending your resume in and you'll get feedback by the next business day. So let me go into the resume lab real quick. So you would just attach your resume, and then in the comment field here, we do recommend that you include details about the job that you're applying for. I think that it is very important, well, I know it's very important to include, if at all possible, include the job description, because there's a lot of companies that use ATS, and what that does is it basically pre-screens resumes. So if you're sending a resume in and you're not using keywords effectively and appropriately, or not using them at all, there's potential that your resume will never get in front of someone's eyes. It's going to just go through the pre-screener and possibly be rejected. So by including the job description into that little comment box, it just makes it it makes your feedback a lot more relevant. And then you can also, like, if you have specific questions about your resume, you can put those in that box as well. When it comes to the resume feedback, I have one open here. So there is always going to be a little form that is sent back with the resume. And the introductory paragraph explains what to expect as you're looking through the feedback. There's also a paragraph here about what resumes are. And then there's general suggestions. And then we also do include the links to the different types of resume templates that we have. Then you'll see here, there is a copy of the revised resume. Give me 1 second. Sorry. There is a copy of the revised resume. So there's comments here explaining different changes that were made. There's also comments here of things that the person can do to strengthen their bullets in their experience section. One thing that our job coaches always like to do is to help focus on accomplishments. That's something that sets you apart from other job seekers. Anytime you can quantify experience, that's a really beneficial thing to the potential employer. And then at the bottom here, this is a copy of the resume that was sent in. Okay, let me minimize this. And I'm going to go back to the home page. And then let's talk real quick about interviews. So for me, well, thankfully I have not. I've worked at Brainfuse for a long time, so I have not had to do an interview recently, but when I was job hunting, they were so scary. I had a few interviews that were like panel interviews where it was a bunch of different people in the room, and that was so scary to me, just knowing that I have to put my best foot forward, and it's daunting, it's scary. So I see something in the chat. Oh, good question. So there's a question here about how long it takes for the resume lab to return the feedback. And the guarantee is the next business day, but it's typically like 12 to 18 hours. It depends on how busy the resume coaches are, but the guarantee is the next business day. So if you do need to get your feedback more quickly, then I would definitely recommend connecting to a live resume coach. Okay, so back to interviews. We do have resources to help you prepare for your interview. There are interview tips, which this has all been created by our curriculum team, where they go through like the different process of preparing for an interview, like what to do before an interview, what to do while you're at an interview, questions and answers, how to answer questions, questions you can ask, the don'ts of interviewing, and what to do after an interview. So I think that these are all just like really quick, easy tips that you can take a look through. It's not a ton of information, and it really just kind of gets to the point as far as different things to really focus on as you're preparing for an interview. So if you don't have a ton of time to prepare for an interview, I think these tips are really the best way to go. And then there's also a link here with some different online resources. So I mentioned earlier, I'm type A, I like to be super prepared. So for the interview tips, I really like the potential questions and answers from Monster. So it goes through a bunch of different potential questions, and then some of them you can see are linked where it'll give you some information about what the potential employer is looking for and how you can most effectively answer those types of questions. In addition to that, there are live interview coaches. So when it comes to the live interview coach, what they do is they kind of go through a mock interview with you where they'll ask you some of those questions and help you better formulate answers, really help you prepare. I do have a recorded, let's see, it's here. I'm just gonna jump ahead a bit. So just so you know, we very, very recently updated our online classroom. So it does look slightly different than how it looks in this recording. All of our tools are no longer across the bottom. They're over on the left-hand side. We also recently added a translation tool, and that's done with Google Translate. So that's embedded into the classroom. So if someone prefers communicating in like Portuguese, for example, they can actually just use the translation tool to work with a tutor who speaks English. Because it is Google, you know, it's not perfect, but it does allow us to reach more people. So I'm trying to think what else we've recently added to the classroom. There's, I think that there's a new calculator, which is more relevant to people who use Help Now. Yeah, I think that the translation tool is really just the one that's most relevant for job seekers. So as you can see in this practice interview, they're going through different questions and answers and getting feedback on how to best answer the question. Okay, so let me go back over here. And just so you know, there is a separate page or an additional page focused really completely on adult learners with like building their skills. So a lot of this, we have a section in Skill Surfer that is called Adult Learning Resources, but there's also this separate page for adult learners, which just makes it a little bit easier for them to find the information that they need in order to build their skills, because Skill Surfer is definitely a little bit overwhelming. It's the same content, it's just laid out differently. So the other thing I wanted to show you, well, first, I should probably make sure there's no other questions. My apologies, I'm not the best. I always forget to pause and ask for questions.
Yeah, Diane, there was a question in the chat. How quickly does the resume lab return the feedback?
So the resume lab returns the feedback by the next business day at the latest. It's usually quicker than that. I'd say like 12 hours would be average.
Thank you, that's quick.
And then, okay, so there's a question here on the translation option. And Hillary, this is a really good question. So Hillary's asking if it's something that's enabled on the user's end, or does the live coach take care of that? That would be something that I think, you know, I have to look, because I think that the user has to change it to their language. So that way, when the tutor types, you know, whatever the tutor types will be translated into whatever language they prefer to communicate in. I'm going to have to check though, because I honestly have not used it. So I don't know exactly how it works. But what I can do is I can get information from tech and I can send that over to Julie and she can let you all know.
That works.
Okay, so let me, so I have the, I do have the JobNow page and CLC open. And one of the things I wanted to make sure that everyone knows about is the promotional materials. I just needed to yell at the dog. So there's the promotional materials here. And when you click on the link, it does take you to a password protected page on the Brainfuse site. So I already have it open and I already logged in. But this is where you will find lots of different resources to help you with promotion. There's different guides at the top. And then as you scroll down, there's different print items, bookmarks, posters, flyers, half sheets, Spanish items. There's web promos. There's social media, which I just recently changed the way I lay out the social media. So when you go down toward the bottom here, you'll see that well, there's a typo. I'm gonna have to fix that. But you'll see that each section has the post suggestion here, and then you can just click and right click to download the image. And then at the very bottom, there are some short training videos as well. So there's just a lot of tools there in order to learn more about JobNow and tools to help you market. So the password, you can, I'll put it in the chat here as well, but you can also go to the members only page in order to get the password. Give me a second and I will put it in the chat. So that way you have it right at your fingertips. And then I do see there's more questions.
Yeah, there's another question. And I don't know, Diane, if you'll have time to show them using the stats, if you want to do that, or if you don't want to do that today.
Okay, there's the password for the marketing page. How exactly does connecting with a live coach work? Do you make an appointment? What platform? Okay, so these are really great questions, Jen. So when you connect with a live job coach, you do not need to make an appointment. So you would just come, let me go back over here. If you are on the homepage, the live hours, I believe, are 3 to 11, 3 to 10. I don't, is it on your, all of our clients have different live hours. And I don't know offhand what the live hours are, but it's somewhere in that range, like 2 to 10, something like that. 3 to 11, thank you. So the live hours are 3 to 11. So anytime during 3 to 11, you can just come in, you can click on any of these live. It'll actually, I think, tell me. Yes, it tells me that they're available from 3 to 11. And it will route you to an available job coach. So no appointment needed. You don't need to create an account on Brainfuse or anything. You just have to go through whatever authentication process that you have or that you have on your library's website. So most of the time it's just entering in the library barcode. And the platform, it's a Brainfuse. It's the proprietary classroom. It's this one that I showed you. So it's HTML5 based, so it does work on all of the different browsers, all of the different platforms. It does work on Chromebooks, which is a question that I get asked pretty regularly. Because it's HTML5, you don't have to download anything. It's just, you go to, it's just a web page. And let's see. So I think, Jen, I answered all your questions. Let me know if you need any further clarifications. Julie, you said there was a question about stat. I don't see any questions about
No,
stats.
I was just wondering if you want to show quickly how to access the stats.
I can, yeah. If I don't mind, I know it's close to the hour, but if
yeah, I just realized that too. Yeah.
If anyone wants to stay on, I will show an example of stats real quick. Just, I need to pause for a minute because I have to log in on an admin account. So I just paused my screen sharing. So the stats, and I know stats are, I talk to a lot of our clients about stats. That's one of the roles that I take on. And I know that you all work with a lot of different vendors, and looking at different, like I can't imagine trying to keep track of all of the different stats that you guys have to look at. I'm not a numbers person though either, so I know some people really love that, but not me. Okay, so let me pull up the JobNow. Okay, log in. There we go. Okay, so now I am logged in, and you'll see here right up at the top, there are all of the different libraries. And I have the toolbar in a bad place. So you can find your library from the list, and then you would click on the legacy usage reports, and it's going to process. So it's actually processing this month, so it'll probably be nothing because the month just started. But let's see, let me go to, we'll do this one. So you can see here, this one does have some use. And the statistics are going to, of course, vary based on what your use is. So for this particular report, there was only database use. So there were 2 people who visited the JobNow site, or 2 unique visits. It could have been the same person twice, because each time you go to the JobNow site, that counts as a visit. So it's not unique people, it's unique visits, if that makes sense. And then at the top, it shows the total use. So if there were also coaching sessions or resume submissions, that would also be included in this number. And that's anytime that you are connected with a live person, whether it is asynchronous or simultaneous. So if there were coaching sessions, there would be a number here. There would also be a average length of the session. And then if there were resume submissions, there would be a number there. And then also sometimes there is more of a breakdown of the database use, just depending on how much things were used. There is not a way to show how many unique users. That has to do with, this is more of a technical question, which is a little bit outside of my realm of expertise, but it has to do with how the authentication is set up. And I don't know specifically, because we don't track barcodes or anything if you're using our authentication. I think if you use SIP2, then you're able to get the barcode information. But like I said, that's a little bit outside of my realm of expertise. So that would definitely be a question that I can contact tech about. So Julie, there's a question that's more for you. Okay, thank you. So the link will be shared and Amanda's going to send it out. I know we're a couple of minutes over time now. I will stay on if there's any other questions. If you don't have any other questions, then we have gone through everything that I wanted to talk about. Thanks for joining this morning.
Thank you, everyone, for coming in. I hope it was a good experience. You learned a lot. And you're not going to change jobs. Now you know it's easy to do a resume.